President Trump's crackdown on crime is now going after cashless bail. Today, the president signed an executive order that threatens to pull federal funding from cities that don't eliminate such policies. Among those cities is the nation's capital.
One of the executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I can tell you who did it, when, but I don't want to do that, because others followed pretty quickly. But that was when it happened. Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And this isn't Republican, Democrat, this is, and by the way, most Democrats agree with us, but this is just, we gotta bring our country back.
Let's talk about this with civil rights attorney Robin Sanders, who is a federal public defender. Robin, Trump says cashless bail, that was when the big crime in this country started. They'd kill someone and get out. Can you tell us how cashless bail impacts crime?
Sure. So I think it's important for your viewers to understand that cashless bail, also known as no cash bail, is a system where judges will allow individuals to be released before trial and not condition that on their ability to pay a sum of money. And what typically happens is that the judge will engage in a risk assessment analysis and look at various factors like whether the person poses a flight risk or whether they are a danger to the community before determining if they should be released before trial. And the impetus for this is rooted in civil rights concerns, Brianna. Proponents of this policy say that if you don't have it in existence, what you'd have is a two-tiered system where wealthy individuals who are charged with the same offense will be able to be released pre-trial, but indigent individuals in this country, disproportionately African Americans and people of color, would have to remain in prison or in jail before their trial.
So under threat of losing federal funding, we've seen many entities and jurisdictions enacting policies that otherwise they would not enact. Do you expect this to work? And if so, what's the effect of that going to be?
So I think that it's important to understand that part of the order is national in scope. So it authorizes the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi to identify jurisdictions that implement this policy and see whether or not there are federal funding streams that could be withheld or revoked. And then, of course, targeting D.C. specifically. And essentially that would allow the police to preferentially charge suspects under federal law, thereby bypassing that procedure. So I think what we will need to look at is to see whether states or jurisdictions will comply with the order, in order to prevent themselves from losing federal funding.
So I know you come at this from a defender's perspective, and you have a lot of experience with a number of cases, but you also know that there are people who are incredibly worried about crime and public safety, even as we, for instance, in D.C. have seen numbers go down recently. The administration is certainly playing to those concerns. How should those concerns be addressed?
So I think it's important for people to understand that even in places where cashless bail, the system is being implemented and used, judges are still required to engage in a risk assessment analysis. So in addition to determining whether someone is a flight risk, judges also look to see whether the individual does pose a significant threat or danger to the community before making a decision about whether they would be released pre-trial. So it's important for people to understand that even in jurisdictions where this system is adopted, judges are still tasked with making sure that the individual who is wanting the benefit of the cashless bail policy doesn't pose a significant risk or danger to the community. And if they are determined to pose that risk, then the judge will consign them to jail, as they await their trial proceedings. So it's a factor that judges consider.